Good morning, everyone. Kris here with Inspired Energy. Joining me this morning, Hartwell. Good morning, Hartwell.
Good morning, Kris. Good morning, everyone.
Yes. So, this morning we are talking about the Ring of Prosperity, which includes gates 16 and 45. What can you tell us about the Ring of Prosperity?
Well, the Ring of Prosperity is linked with the amino acid cysteine, and both these gates are in the throat. So that's an interesting thing as well.
Mhm.
The throat, of course, is where, it's the function that relates to communication and action. So prosperity, in a sense, is dependent upon or contingent upon communication and action, and potentially action.
Mhm.
Um, 16 is a collective, one of the collective, part of the collective circuitry. And it is a journey from indifference to mastery via the way of versatility. So 16 is all about the shadow state of indifference, is the energy that we sink into when we're afraid of being different. Um, as long as you're indifferent, you can't be different. It's kind of that energy of not wanting to stand out, not wanting to um, shine, not wanting to show up, brings your life into an energy of, meh, as the new generation says.
Mhm.
And it's enthusiasm that kicks us out of that. When we raise up out of that energy of fear and distrust in life, then we embrace the possibility of being different. Then we allow ourselves to get absorbed into things and be
Mhm.
enthusiastic about them. And in that state of enthusiasm, that's when our genius starts to emerge. And we develop this energy of versatility that shows the linkages between all sorts of different things. So you get enthusiastic about, I don't know, I get enthusiastic about astrology, right?
Mhm.
And human design. And it's like, oh, and that links to this, and that links to this, and that links to this. And so versatility arises out of the enthusiasm for life, for the things that we're interested in, for developing skills, for developing ourselves, for being willing to be different.
Mhm.
Um, and it becomes a real joy. And the 16 is part of a channel that relates to tapping into the talent of life, your talents in life. At
Mhm.
the highest level, it becomes mastery, where we've all heard stories about somebody who was so brilliant that they could put their hand to anything and just pick it up and just do it like that.
Mhm.
Like a musician who was a virtuoso musician, and give him a banjo, he's never touched it in his life, and off he goes.
Right.
So the energy of mastery, um, it's one of the miracle cities. The in the Hindu tradition, there are certain cities that were
Mhm.
considered miraculous, and they were also looked at with suspicion,
Mhm.
because with the gaining of a power, a city, a superpower kind of thing, a higher enlightenment thing, there was the worry that that could be misused, or that it would somehow corrupt a person.
Right.
Um, and the 16 is one of those things that really comes across as miraculous when it shows up in the world, because there's
Right.
that sense of somebody doing things so effortlessly
Right.
across many disciplines, like Leonardo
Mhm.
da Vinci.
Mhm.
How is it you're so good at everything?
Right.
And that is mastery. Um, and nothing is impossible if you get your mind out of the way.
Right. And you just actually have the courage to step out there and try to be different and try to do things right.
Yeah. It makes me think of Richard Rudd's books, The Bridge Across Forever, or Jonathan Livingston Seagull. That energy of arising into this place where um, life is just this magical journey, and high performance or mastery arises along with our willingness and our desire to be connected to
Mm-hmm.
God. To me, rising up is all about connecting to God. Um, so why don't we talk about the other one now?
So how about 45?
Yeah. Um, 45 is it's part of what's called the money line in human design. In the gene keys, it's talked about as the journey from dominance to communion by way of synergy. All these big words. Richard Rudd loves them. I love them
Mm-hmm.
too. I
Mm-hmm.
won't lie.
You're a word
Um,
guy.
I am a word guy, yes. Um, so remember, all our shadow energies are about distrust of life and fear. That's what keeps
Mm-hmm.
us in a low place. And yet they're also our springboard. They're on a continuum, the shadow to the gift to the city. And these are not meant to be expunged in ourselves, but in a sense raised up. Now, with the shadow of dominance, that one's probably pretty apparent to most people.
Mm-hmm.
In our prehistory, food was the thing that was most important. And if you controlled food, then you dominated the people around you. And if you controlled food, you could ensure the survival of yourself and your family and even your
Right.
tribe. So
Mm-hmm.
food arose from the desire, power or dominance arose with the desire to control. When we feel that we won't have enough, then we want to control it and then dominate based upon that.
Mm-hmm.
In the modern world, it's not so much about that control of food is now symbolized by, of course, having control of and plenty of money.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have money, you don't have food. So money is the thing that we symbolize that for right now.
Yes.
And as humanity learned to create food in more efficient ways and store it, then we had the rise of hierarchies as a result of that. The
Mm-hmm.
organizational structure of humanity arose from that. And in some ways, it is built into our genetic makeup that this is true. Um, but when we're in the energy of dominance, we can't think beyond the needs of ourselves and our immediate family.
Mm-hmm.
And so we become very ungenerous. But when you raise that energy to the level of synergy, you begin to say, well, doesn't my prosperity isn't going it won't it be enhanced if I drop the fear and drop the control? Won't it be enhanced by my actually sharing with other people and bringing them into my circle of concern?
Mm-hmm.
Not how can just me and mine thrive, but how can the world thrive?
Right.
So synergy is all about the possibility of feeling your connection to the world, to other people beyond your tribe, and arranging things rather than arranging them hierarchically, arranging them heterarchically. That's not a very familiar word to me. Have you heard it before, Kris?
No, I had to look it up because it came
Yeah,
up on the thing under spell check.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Heterarchy is the idea that leadership can be shared, and it can be fluid. It can pass from one person to another.
Mm-hmm.
So organizations and communities that are arranged heterarchically recognize the need both for individual and group empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes less of a competition between those two forms of power, and then it can more easily be shared.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've never been in the business world, so um, this is a little bit harder for me to tune into.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you have a better sense of that.
Well,
Um,
yeah, I think that in a business sense, this is when you have a person who is in the role of being a leader, but understands how to delegate and relinquish certain things over to other people. So they are the
mhm.
specialists in that area, and the leader recognizes that. So therefore, he allows them to develop and be at their best and doing the thing that they do best, and just helping to support that and
Mm.
recognizing that that's the role that they play, right? It's
Well,
kind of like
that's
everybody stay in your lane and do what you do best, and then it all fits together like a puzzle and works like a well-oiled machine. Yeah,
mm,
yeah.
I like that, and I mean, I see some of those elements operating where we are
Hmm.
in clarity,
Hmm.
um, and we're playing with that too. There's a sense of I think that evolving in the business culture. Do you figure?
Yeah, it is. I mean, even within businesses. So like rather than being, straight competition, it's like how can we help each other? How can we, be of service to each other? For example, a business who is in health and healing fits very well with what we do, right? So why wouldn't we work together and, share clients and all of that, because at the end of the day you want what's best for the client, and then when the client knows that and feels that, then they
Yeah.
know that they're coming to the right place rather than somebody that's just taking everything from them and not really making any progress, right? So
Hmm.
mhm.
That makes sense. And I like the way that something about what you said keyed me into, it made me think of the idea of guilds.
Mhm.
Um, Guilds are kind of like teams of talented people in the same professions, training and helping and growing and developing each other. And
Mhm.
there is that sense of um, nourishing the talent within a group, say within a particular profession or a guild,
Mhm.
with the 16, which is part of this energy of prosperity.
Right.
And you can see that in what you just said. And I
Mhm.
mean, according to what we're seeing here with the gene keys, the highest level of the 45 is communion,
Mhm.
where we fully recognize the interconnectivity of all life.
Mhm.
Humans is part. First of all, um, but beyond that gift level, we rise into a place where maybe someday there won't be money at all because
Mhm.
we share everything.
Right.
um, where unconditional giving
Mhm.
negates the need for money altogether, because am I really do I have less if I give you more, or if you need
Right.
it, because we are connected anyway. you
Exactly.
know so there's a fluidity there, and there is a step beyond the heterarchy, which we
Mhm.
looked at the gift level, and it becomes synarchy, this idea. And again, these are hard to grasp and I'm having a hard time feeling into them, but synarchy would imply groupings of people. It's almost like you would be developing a group energy or a group mind that somehow orchestrated everything.
Well, this is where we're headed, right? Too, is
Hmm.
that even the kids that are being born now, they're all being born as specialists and meant to do one thing, right? Like they're designed to do that. And then the way that they're designed is to hook up with other people and create a pod. And then that pod is what shifts and changes everything. So, I
Mm.
mean, these concepts are hard for a lot of people to grasp right now, especially with having gone through COVID and lack and all of
Yeah.
these things, right? But I mean, just talking about that part of it too, when you have a team of people and there are certain people within that group who see somebody being successful at something and then they try to do it, but they're not designed to do it. People
Hmm.
do not, I mean, people automatically know that something resonates with you or doesn't. And so you don't
Yeah.
have the same response as somebody who's designed to do that particular thing, right? And this is the difference, right? Yeah.
It's like, yeah, the garden of these varied flowers, which are all our individuality, thrives
Mhm.
best. They cross pollinate if you let them.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, that message, that metaphor just came to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
But
they're so interrelated. Like, I mean, as soon as you say one thing, you go, oh, but this always is like a segue into this healing modality or into this type of work, right? So,
yes,
yeah, because everything at the end of the day is vibration, right? So,
and the more we live in love, the more that we are willing to connect and intelligently cooperate with each other.
mhm, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, the overall theme of the Ring of Prosperity, I mean, we're all obsessed with prosperity in some
Mhm,
ways, right? It's like, oh, the Ring of Prosperity. Maybe there'll be something in here that'll help me be more prosperous. We're so afraid of not being prosperous. But as we explore this, or as Richard Rudd speaks about it, he says prosperity is more than merely having lots of money in your bank account. You
mhm.
know, this prosperity is about a deep entrepreneurial spirit in these two gene keys. You've
Mhm.
got the fusion of human talent, which is 16, with the power of group synergy, which is 45.
Right.
It's like true prosperity arises when people follow their genius while working together collectively.
Exactly.
Yes, the
Don't
more we
try to be like
diversify
others.
the more we diversify our resources and unite them, the more
Mhm.
successful and efficient we become.
Exactly.
So it's not about how do I become more prosperous and become a better manifester
Mhm.
individually. It's about how do I broaden my sense of connection to the
Yeah.
world around me and create the right conditions for each child, each human to flourish.
Hmm. Yeah, which is my passion. So
Yes.
this is,
And mine too. I'm all
yeah.
about, the uniqueness, wanting to bring, wanting to have people fall in love with their own uniqueness and be willing to
Mhm.
show up with the gift that only they can provide.
Exactly. And fall in love with themselves in order to do that, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
What could be
So,
sweeter?
is there anything else that you want to say about the Ring of Prosperity before we move on here?
Nope.
Well, that was a good answer. Um,
Well,
so just,
the next ring,
mhm.
next ring has only one in it.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sure what we're doing next week because unless we just riff, do one and riff on it.
Well,
Um,
I'm sure we
the
can do
next two rings are the Ring of Miracles,
that.
and the
Woohoo!
Ring of Trials is after that, and it
Mhm.
has it's kind of heavy. It's
Yeah,
kind
I
of
think you
heavy.
could talk about miracles for a long time. Anyways, what I also wanted to let you guys know, those of you that's watching this month at Clarity, we actually have a special draw. If you're interested in doing either a human design reading or an astrology reading with Hartwell here, your name will be entered in a draw for a basket that we have here called a Zen meditation basket. Um, and we would love for you to come in and just have a cup of tea if that's not your bag. But uh, certainly take advantage of the wealth of knowledge that Hartwell has to help put you on the track with you and your family. So, with that, we'll say God bless, good night, goodbye, good afternoon. I'm all messed up. So, we'll see you guys next Wednesday.